Welcome. You're watching Beyond the Headline. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Now, when 82-year-old Nancy Pelosi touched down in Taipei earlier this evening, India time, a statement was being made. The U.S. House Speaker is the first to visit Taiwan in the last 25 years and left little doubt as to why she was there. The statement was essentially that Nancy Pelosi doesn't care about what the Chinese are saying. And we want to show those visuals as well of her actually touching down on that runway. Now, sample some excerpts from her tweets after she landed. She said that the visit honors commitment to Taiwan's democracy. The world faces a choice between autocracy and democracy, and the visit does not contradict long-standing policy. The Chinese have seen red. Meanwhile, there are reports that they have scrambled warships near the Taiwan Strait. Their military aircrafts are flying in the area. They're shutting off commercial flights over the Taiwan Strait for a few days and are talking about targeted military action. The saber rattling from China has the world now tracking this visit with bated breath. Now, we know that tomorrow morning, Taiwan time, Nancy Pelosi will be meeting with representatives of the government there. Clearly, the world can ill afford any kind of conflict, as there is no stopping to the war between Russia and Ukraine. So why is China on edge, and why has this trip become such a big deal? So, putting it very simply, Taiwan is a self-governed island territory, and the claims between the two sides of independence have gone on for several decades. Essentially, Taiwan does not recognize China's claim on its land or China's definition of one China. They think they are a separate country. China refuses to agree with this, and most of the world has so far gone along with the Chinese version. The Americans, meanwhile, have on paper said that they recognize one China, that is the People's Republic of China, but have a nudge, wink kind of a relationship with Taiwan, where they've helped them out diplomatically over all of these years. They've helped them with military aid as well. A senior U.S. politician's visit like Nancy Pelosi's to Taiwan, though, changes that game. It removes the ambiguity in what the United States has been saying so far, and possibly gives Taiwan the legitimacy it wants. That's why China is seeing red, because it does not want the world or the US to recognize Taiwan's claim of sovereignty. Meanwhile, there's been no end to the drama of how Nancy Pelosi even got into Taiwan. And this is why this was so exciting all day. People were tracking very carefully what plane she was using to get into the country. She's used the U.S. Air Force jet to reach Taipei, escorted by the Taiwanese military planes. The flight took off from Kuala Lumpur, traveled over Indonesian airspace, and then steered clear of the South China Sea. The flight landed in Taipei at 8:14 Indian Standard Time. Meanwhile, the PLA's fighter jets crossed the Taiwan Straits around that time. So it's a message that she is sending across. But Nancy Pelosi's actions are being seen as her own. At least that's what the U.S. government is saying. They're saying that Congress is an independent body. She can go if she wants to. And it's got nothing to do with us. It's not like we are changing any status quo. China does not need to make such a big deal out of it. Now, why is the world watching this so carefully? The world can, of course, ill afford another conflict. The Russia-Ukraine war is still going on. US and China are the two largest economies in the world. So when the Chinese make statements like this, saying that you're playing with fire, you will bear the consequences, it's something that has everyone on edge. Military escalation on the Chinese side since the visit has really got people wondering what's happening next, and a lot of saber rattling also going on. The US on its side is refusing to back down, because remember, Pelosi's official itinerary and her trip to this part of the world did not have Taiwan on it, but she has landed up there one way or the other. Taiwan is also important because it's at the center of a global fight for semiconductor chips. They're the largest makers of it. And fears of tensions in the South China Sea will also be escalating. Now, to put all of this into more perspective, I'm joined this evening by Col Lawrence Sellin. He's a U.S. Army veteran. Ambassador Deepak Vohra, who's a former diplomat, and Anil Trigunayat, former ambassador, joining us on the show. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today on the show. Col Lawrence Sellin, can you explain to us what Nancy Pelosi is doing there, and The United States government right now is saying, look, it's got nothing to do with us. It's not an official visit of sorts. Why then does it have China on edge?
Well, I'm not sure what Nancy Pelosi is doing in China. She's not particularly an expert in China. And the Biden administration seems to be, walking away from her, saying that it's her own trip. She's a member of Congress. She's not part of the administration. So in the end, I don't think it matters very much what Nancy Pelosi says or does in Taiwan. I think it's the rhetoric which has escalated around the trip, which has become critical, because it's reached a point now where either one side or the other may lose face. And that's a very dangerous situation to be in. So I think we're in for, several very tense days.
The point there being, you're saying that the Biden administration is keeping its distance. They're saying that she doesn't represent us. She's there in any case. Deepak Vohra, what is Nancy Pelosi doing there? And if she's on her own trip, no pun intended, why are the Chinese so angry?
Thank you very much, ma'am. Always a pleasure to be with you. You're brilliant in every which way on Mirror Now. I've heard what Colonel Sellin had to say, and I'm soon going to listen to my distinguished, outstanding colleague, Ambassador, who's also with you on the show. His knowledge is much greater than mine. To answer your question, there's an insanely popular triangle dance in the USA, Colonel Sellin, you know about it. It's called the triangle dance. I refer to it as the triangle. The dancers in August 2022 are USA, China, and Taiwan. China is dancing very badly, totally out of step. America and Taiwan are dancing beautifully in tandem. Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit, private, public, or official, is a powerful statement. China believes in threat diplomacy since it does not know what a democratic ethos is. Countries like India and America and Taiwan believe in action diplomacy. Ma'am, Colonel Sellin, your country is self-correcting, a country that I love dearly. China is defiant, and if you'll forgive me, ma'am, China is up shit creek, politically, internationally, economically, and its paddle is rotting. About China, the one China policy that everybody talks about, I'm a great votary of the one China policy, but it's not communist China that I support. Communism must disappear from the face of the earth. The variety that ping pong, whatever that Chinese fellow's name is, Tingling, Dingling, Ming Ping, whatever the character's name is, it must disappear. Well, the message that has gone out to the world, and as special advisor to 3 governments in Africa, I have 2 messages from 2 of my principals, which are on my mobile, on WhatsApp, and I'll read them out, saying, may I just read out one which is very expressive. By landing up in Taiwan, Speaker Pelosi has exposed the dragon as being made of paper. Now, this is the kind of thing that we love to listen to. That China will rant, will rave, will huff, will puff, but if it tries to blow anything down, it'll be its own house. Ma'am, I rest my case. This is a seminal event. Colonel Sellin, I'm 71 years old.
Is it seminal or not, sir? And that really is the question. That apart from all of this rhetoric, if Nancy Pelosi is an independent actor in all of this, the US government is not saying that she represents them. She's saying she's on a visit of her own and Congress has the right to. And I'm going to take that to Ambassador Trigunayat now. Then what is the big deal? Is it the Chinese backing down, or is it the Americans backing down, trying to downplay the entire visit?
Well, as both my distinguished predecessors have mentioned, there is a lot of risk at stake at the moment. The American Biden just spoke a few days before.
All right. We have a poor connection with you, Ambassador. We're going to try and fix it and come back so we can hear you more clearly. Meanwhile, let me go to Col Lawrence Sellin. It's about the timing as well. We're already living in a time where there is so much of global conflict. Why now? Why now? And is this Nancy Pelosi's own thing? Because she and her position towards Beijing is very well known politically. Can this have happened without the US government, without the Biden administration in the know? I mean, you're saying they're walking away from it, but clearly there is backing here. The US military has helped her get in there. She's going there with all of that help, isn't it?
Oh, that's absolutely correct. The Biden administration, obviously must have known this and must have supported it, or else the Nancy Pelosi wouldn't have gotten a military aircraft to go to Taiwan. What I'm concerned about is the reaction of the Chinese. I mean, Xi Jinping, his base of support is largely with the military, and he's really pumped up the rhetoric. Not directly, but through his spokespeople, in terms of this is some kind of critical crisis, which it shouldn't be. I mean, the visit of Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan shouldn't barely make the news, but the rhetoric has been heated up over this. And as I said earlier,
that's what I want to understand. Why the rhetoric? If you could explain to our audience right now, whoever's watching this show, why does this visit have China on edge to this extent? And what is the context of that?
I think it's because what your other speaker said, that China may be in very difficult situations now. And Xi Jinping may be in trouble. And as I said, his base of support is the military, and he may be using the military to bolster his position in a very difficult economic situation. And then this is how things can get out of control. What I've argued about is that the low-hanging fruit here, militarily speaking, are the offshore islands, in particular what has been known as Quemoy and Matsu. These are the Kinmen Islands and the Lianjiang island chain that is under Taiwanese administration. And these are unfortified islands. So I'm concerned about, given the military buildup in Fujian province, it would be very easy for the military, either with authority of Beijing or without it, to move to occupy some of these Taiwanese islands, which are directly offshore from China's mainland.
Yeah, I have Ambassador Trigunayat back and his line cleared up there. Yes, Ambassador, I want to understand that if this is not a big deal, why is China so upset? What is the US going to do about it? And what about the rest of the world? What about India, for example? Should we just ignore all of these statements coming in from China?
Well, I think that we have to look at it from China's side. China considers Taiwan as an integral part of it. And therefore, it has always created a lot of noise whenever there is any foreign visit take place. And this has happened earlier in the past. We know that Newt Gingrich had visited in 1997. But before that visit, he was in Beijing for 3-4 days. And likewise now, but Nancy Pelosi especially is a big hawk as far as China is concerned. And she has been a China baiter for a very long time now. And this is something very personal in that. Secondly, as far as Chinese President Xi Jinping is concerned, he's definitely, as everybody has laid out, in a difficult position economically and domestically as well. We are seeing that. At the same time, having this dream of being a superpower or kind of a hyperpower that it dreams to be, it obviously cannot let go or can be intimidated that any understanding that the United States has with them, at least the administration, they are washing off their hands from this visit, saying that it is Pelosi, but if she needs something, we are their countries behind it. So obviously, that is there. So that puts him on the map, actually. And I think this is some kind of a Cuba movement in some ways, because China now in October, they're going to have the conference there. The Communist Party will decide on the fate of Xi Jinping, and a weakened Xi Jinping will have problems domestically as well. So I think that there are a lot of issues for them, and they are definitely, and there's the reason that the US administration was not very keen on this visit to begin with. But now that the visit has happened, will China go in whole hog? Unlikely. But as Col Sellin is saying, that it is very possible that one or two islands they just might like to capture just to show off their force or their primacy in the region. At the same time, as far as countries like India and others are concerned, of course, if the war breaks out, it is going to be disastrous for everyone. It is not something that can be taken easily. Already, the world is reeling under tremendous pressure from the Russia-Ukraine war, which is causing global problems, actually, including in the United States and in India.
Right.
And China itself is suffering from that. So I don't think that this is something that anybody desires, neither the Chinese nor the Americans. So I think it will just be short of that. And I have the feeling that Pelosi will quietly leave out tomorrow after making some statements. And once again, the US position that they believe in one China policy, at the same time, they continue to support Taiwan and create these kind of conditions, obviously gives a mixed message.
Yeah.
That's what
So is Nancy Pelosi like a trial balloon, Ambassador Vohra, to see how far the US can push the Chinese right now? Is that what we're seeing? And do you see all of this sort of dying down? The Chinese will huff and puff, like you said, but nothing much will happen further from here.
There will be PhD theses done in a few years on 3 seminal events. One was Galwan, where we smashed China's nose, we broke their teeth. Second is the collapse of the Chinese economy following the property issue. And the third is Nancy Pelosi's visit. Look, these guys will talk. Ping Pong, what is the fellow's name? Ambassador Anil, I forget, the Chinese leader. Dingling or Ting Ping, whatever his name is.
Come on, Ambassador Vohra, come on.
All right,
come
all right,
on,
ma'am,
we're talking about it seriously. We're talking about it seriously. And can I say something, Ambassador Vohra? I mean, everyone knows how the Chinese behave, but the fact is there are very few countries in the world who have the guts to say Taiwan is independent. Who is saying it? The US is not saying it today.
No, ma'am.
No one wants to say it. You want to go visit them, but no one can say it. Yes, Ambassador Vohra.
What I'm saying is that a one China policy for me means a China that is not communist, whether it's Taiwan or it's mainland China. That's the one China. So this gentleman who's there, the third thing will be when he's elected leader for the next 5,000 years in the October session of the Communist Party, it's not going to make any difference. Because China stands exposed. Ma'am, I don't know if you ever, in school, you ever taught that story about the emperor who had the most expensive dress in the world because the tailors were conning him, and finally that little girl said, "Mummy, but the emperor has no clothes." This is what this gentleman is. China has no clothes.
Okay. But so China has been exposed, according to Ambassador Vohra today. Nancy Pelosi has landed there. What about the response from here on, Col Lawrence? What will you be looking for? The kind of messaging coming in from the White House. Do you think they will stick to the stance and keep themselves at an arm's distance from Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, I think they have to at this point. What they're trying to do is play down the visit by creating distance between the White House and Nancy Pelosi. So I think they will stick with this in the hope that China doesn't take any rash action, in the next few days. I think we'll learn in the next few days, whether China is just bluffing or not.
Yeah. I want to talk about India's position a bit more. And let me come back to Ambassador Vohra over here. We've always recognized the People's Republic of China officially as the Chinese government. We have the same kind of sort of line in the sense that the Americans have, where we have very friendly relationship. In fact, we want Taiwanese companies to come and, set up semiconductor facilities here in the country. But we are not giving them what they want in terms of independent sovereign nations recognizing them as an independent nation. How do you think India should play this going forward? Wait and watch?
Less than 15 countries at the moment recognize Taiwan as an independent nation and have diplomatic missions over there. That's because China used its financial clout to wean away all these African countries, gave them money and said, now you de-recognize Taiwan and you please recognize us. Many of them did so. But looking at the future, ma'am, to answer your question, we are not in the business in diplomacy of making predictions. But what I can see is that China's reputation is in tatters. And more countries are going to turn around probably and say, we will now like to improve, to intensify our contacts with Taiwan, and then we'll see what happens. because China has been exposed. I repeat this and I say it with full authority.
All right.
Full
Ambassador
China is
Trigunayat, do you
exposed, ma'am.
think...
Let me complete.
Yes.
It is exposed as a paper dragon, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's nothing more.
All right. China is a paper dragon, says Ambassador Vohra. Ambassador Trigunayat, do you think this will open the floodgates to more visits and maybe steps towards recognition of Taiwan's aspirations?
Well, there have been plenty of visits, actually, even from the United States last month itself, there were two of the senators were there, Senator Graham and McKinsey, I think. And so the visits have been taking place. This is not something that has, it is just the timing of it, I guess, which is causing a bit of a problem because in my view that the Americans do not want that China completely and, in a planned manner supports Russia in the ongoing war at the moment. So they didn't want to open a third front. And that's the thing. Essentially, that's why they want to keep the Chinese off the hook at the moment. Plus, what is happening there is for Xi Jinping is that, as was being mentioned by everyone, there are domestic problems. And this is more of a domestic issue than that is international issue. I believe that how the Chinese are going to react now after this is what to watch. I mean, we don't know. I mean, and most of the times, as we know, that the wars, whether it was Second World War, First World War, they are not planned. They just happen somehow. So any escalation that happens by mistake or by default could be disastrous at this moment.
That's the last thing that the world wants.
Whether it is a paper tiger or not, but it is definitely a problem for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Two of the largest economies in the world, the United States and China. And the war of words, at least so far, is escalating. We're keeping a close watch on this big story. Thank you so much to all of you for joining us on the show and breaking it down for our viewers.